UFOs are real, burgeoning, not going away. This is the coming great deception. And you're going to, I think, be astonished here because I'm going to go someplace that I've never gone before. And the light bulb has gone off. And I will share that with you. First, a word from our very trusted sponsor. In a recent clinical trial this year, a woman who took 2.5 grams of collagen peptides daily for 8 weeks saw an average of 25% reduction in eye wrinkle depth, a 9% improvement in skin elasticity, and a 29% look in skin hydration, proving collagen can visibly strengthen and rejuvenate skin from within. That is why I use today's sponsor, BioTrust Ageless Multi-Collagen. Folks, I use it every single day. I put it in my second cup of coffee, which is really cold out of the refrigerator, mix it up really well, and I absolutely love it. BioTrust Ageless Multi-Collagen helps supercharge my skin health using 5 premium types of collagen needed to help reduce wrinkles. I've noticed smoother skin, more elasticity, more hydration, fewer fine lines, and a youthful glow. Plus, it also helps improve my joint health, bone strength, and connective tissues on top of my skin. For a limited time, you can grab a bag of BioTrust Ageless Multi-Collagen for 51% off at www.healthwithla.com. Plus, you'll also receive free VIP live health and fitness coaching for life, a free ebook titled The 14 Foods for Amazing Skin, a 60-day satisfaction guarantee, and free express shipping with your order. Once again, please go www.healthwithla.com, healthwithla.com. I want to tell you something. Since I've been taking BioTrust Ageless Multi-Collagen, and I've been doing it every day, folks, and I have noticed, I'm not making this up, I have noticed that the creepy skin under my arms and the backside of my forearm and upper arm, the lines have really decreased. It's working. So once again, www.healthwithla.com. Thank you. Check it out. Thanks for coming here, folks. Really appreciate it. We do a new show every day. Don't wait for YouTube to tell you. We're here 7 days a week, 365. Why? Because so much is happening. I can barely keep up with it. So today we're going to be talking about UFOs. Before I do that, please subscribe. Also consider becoming a member. For a little less than $10 a month, you get special content, the news magazine, and of course, you get 10% off everything in the store. But Black Friday, members only, 50% off everything in the store. What I mean by that is all videos, all DVDs, all books, not T-shirts or mugs. That we can't do. But the other stuff, 50% off. So thank you for your patronage. Thank you for coming here. Keep us in prayer. We are under attack. The enemy doesn't like what we do. Our mission statement is to expose the deception of the prince of the power of the air and to herald the return of the King, Jesus. So let's get into this. Documentary filmmaker predicts Trump will make a major announcement about UFOs. Now, I'm going to read this and then I'm going to weigh in on it because this is unbelievable. Documentary filmmaker Dan Farrar recently appeared on the Joe Rogan podcast to promote his new film, The Age of Disclosure. If you have not seen The Age of Disclosure, I would highly recommend it. I also did a very in-depth review of the film. I watched the film and I was taking still shots. I would pause it, take still shots with the cell phone, and then I weigh in on it. And I think you'll find it interesting. You need to watch that. You need to watch Age of Disclosure. You need to watch my commentary. Why? Because this is the 25th rung on the ladder of disclosure. This film by Dan Farrar is the 25th rung on the ladder of disclosure. Here's the book. You can see it behind me. The book only has 17. So since it was published in October of 2024, we're up to rung number 25. Age of Disclosure, the film, is rung number 25. Why? Because Farrar sits down with 34 whistleblowers, congressmen. Now, let me rephrase that. 34 people he sits down with and interviews. Some are congressmen, congresswomen, whistleblowers, former military. It's a whole gamut of people. CIA people. I mean, it's all across the board. They're all saying that we are being visited by so-called extraterrestrials. You need to watch that film. The movie's about UFOs and what the government knows about them. One of the assertions made in the film is that there was a secret part of the U.S. government that has used upwards of $1 trillion over the last 50 years to reverse engineer non-human flying craft that has been discovered over time. Let's stop right there. We know that Bob Lazar, right? Bob Lazar came out with a DVD. Thank you, George Knapp, for doing that. I believe that George Knapp saved Bob Lazar's life. I really do, because if he had not gone public with George Knapp on the television station out of Vegas, I don't think he'd be here today. That's conjecture on my part. So Lazar talked about back engineering the propulsion system from these guys right here. That's what Lazar, and he's never changed his story. Jeremy Corbell did a great film on this, on Bob Lazar, and it's decades later. Lazar comes back on the record and talks about back engineering in Area 51. So when I read something like this, it doesn't faze me in the least. I've known about this for decades because of Bob Lazar. Rogan suggests that the people who work on these secret programs will need some sort of amnesty in order to come forward. Absolutely. Luis Elizondo has stated on the record that things have changed, that whistleblowers are being threatened. Question is by who? I've been trying to get Mr. Elizondo on our show for some time, and we've exchanged emails. So far, no good. But I'm not going to stop trying, and we'll see what happens. I'd love to get him on. And Lou Elizondo is a real patriot. He was head of ATIP, Advanced Aeronautical Threat Identification Program. And then that was disbanded in Arrow form. And Arrow comes out and says, nothing to see here. Is that pushback? You tell me. Of course it's pushback. That's why this film, Age of Disclosure, is so important. At one point, Farah predicts in a hopeful way that President Trump will be the first world leader to level with the public about the UFO disclosure and tell people what the government supposedly knows. The idea that we are not alone in the universe. I'm going to stop right there because that's really what I want to talk about. I have told you for years, it's in my books, it's in Rungs of Disclosure, it's in Further Evidence, it's in our films, the 10-box DVD set that my business partner Gil Zimmerman and I created, 10 DVDs. I mean, unbelievable amount. It's a corpus of work here. And it's the best of my knowledge. I'm boasting here, I admit, but we're the only Christian ministry that has this. Close Encounters of the First, Second, Third, and Fourth Kind. The experts weigh in, where I sit down and discuss the whole UAP, UFO phenomena with Francisco Carrero, who was the head of Exopolitics Portugal, and Preston Dennett, who is a very prolific author and researcher of the whole UFO phenomena. So what are we looking at here? Crop circles, abductions. That film alone is unbelievable. Counter mutilations. 2 films on Roswell. Finally, Word is the Truth. I sat down with George Norrie, Nick Pope, Nick Redford, and other people, all ufologists, all have been studying this phenomena for decades. Jaime Maussan came on the record. And then Gary Stearman, Madhu Gonzalez, Gonzo, and others Matt Freeman give an alternative viewpoint from a biblical perspective. Here's what I want to tell you. For years, I have been saying, we go up, they come down. We go up, they come down. What if I'm wrong? What if they come down first? What if they show up and they come down? What would that do to the public? Hold that thought. What if our president, Donald Trump, goes up, has a special press conference, goes to the platform, stands behind the podium, and says, and me behind him are the Joint Chiefs of Staff, maybe people like David Grush, Lou Elizondo, who knows? But he's got a bunch of people behind him. And he looks right at the camera and he states, I come here today with a historic announcement that is huge, but I'm making light of it and I really shouldn't. And the announcement is this: we are not alone in the universe. Or maybe Trump then introduces Lou Elizondo or Admiral Gallaudet or David Grush or who knows who, and they come forward and support the claim, support his announcement that we are being visited by so-called extraterrestrials. Here's the point. Here's what I'm trying to get to. If that happens before they show up, so the announcement happens before we see mile-wide craft in the air, and I've never thought about this before. This is why I'm doing it now. If that happens, what happens in your church? What happens to you? How will that affect your worldview as a Christian? See where I'm going with this? What happens if at the same time Trump is making this announcement, Pope Leo makes the announcement, maybe a day or two later, followed by other world leaders? Now what? See where I'm going with this? Now what? Can you imagine if that happens? You show up at church and everybody's talking about this because it's international news. We're not alone in the universe. As a Christian, how does that affect you? I believe that this could be part of what we read about, and I realize there are different interpretations on this, but the great falling away, that what we read about in 2 Thessalonians, the apostasia. Could this help or add to? Could this be the trigger? Could this be the mega lever that creates the great apostasy? Because if you hear from our president and other world leaders that we are no longer alone, and maybe during the announcement they're showing, classified footage, they're talking about all this stuff. How does that affect you as a born-again, spirit-filled Christian? Will you go to church and challenge your pastor and say, why didn't you warn us? Why didn't you tell us about this? If you knew, why didn't you say anything? Think about it. Think about it. Think about it. How is that going to shake people's faith? I think it shakes the church like something like never before, except the actual manifestation of mile-wide UFOs over the cities of the world. That's the ultimate game changer. But if Donald Trump and the Pope and several other world leaders stand up, maybe they all do it in tandem. I don't know. And they announce this, that's a game changer. That is a game changer. The people, the ancient astronaut theorists, will be jumping up and down going, hooray, hooray. We knew it all along. The New Agers will tell us that these are our progenitors. The ancient astronaut theorists will tell us, see, they seeded us here. These are the Anunnaki, they're returning. Folks, we are in uncharted waters. We really are. We are in uncharted waters. And if this announcement happens, it is, in fact, a game changer. How will you react? And I'll close by saying this. These are not extraterrestrials. These are interdimensional entities with a very nefarious agenda. Notice that in Age of Disclosure, no one talks about abductions, no one talks about implants, no one talks about cattle mutilations. Nobody. It's dead silent. Dead silent. We broke the story with the late Dr. Roger Lear on the implants. People, men and women, are taken and they are implanted. We took out an implant. It's in our Watchers series. Go to streaming.lamarzulli.net. You can buy the DVD, Best of Watchers, where you can watch the whole thing. There's a whole series of tests that we did with Emil. We broke the story on that. Thank you, Dr. Roger. He's no longer here. My former business partner, Richard Shaw, he passed away a number of years ago. But Richard and I broke the story. We took out the implant. We had the implant tested at SEAL Lab. It's meteorite metal. It's hard science. Some people call it supernatural scientists, because that's, in essence, what we are. They don't talk about the nefarious abduction program where women are taken and they're impregnated, where men are taken and sperm is taken. They don't touch that. Are hybrids walking amongst us? That the book from Dr. David Jacobs? I think they are. We've had accounts. Al Matthews in our film, the very first film, in the 10-box DVD set, Al talks about his encounter with a hybrid. How many times do we have to hear this? Then there's the cattle mutilations, the darkest secret. I believe that the material from the cow are used to create artificial wombs. That's conjecture, but that's what I'm going with. Thank you, Gil Zimmerman. It was a very difficult film to create, and the attack was, I'd never seen anything like it. We were on the phone with Apple, right, tech support, because the head guy had never seen anything like it, how entire files could just disappear. But that's what was happening. And we had to reconstruct the whole film. Talk about warfare, unbelievable. If our president and other world leaders announce to the world that we are not alone, this is a game changer. The question is, are they extraterrestrials from planet Zubo, or are they in fact interdimensional entities that have been interacting with human beings for thousands of years? I'm quoting from Derek Gilbert, who appears in our film on UFOs. Folks, 10-box DVD set. You can watch every single video for $4.99. We will probably lower some of the prices for Black Friday. We'll see. But yeah, it's coming down. And that's why I'm doing this very special show today. Thanks so much for coming here. It's not fear, it's faith. Why? Because we know what was written will come to pass. What was foretold is unfolding. So he's got to come back soon, because all this is coming down. Remember this, and we have this little track. Thank you, Brad Myers. Brad was the nexus for this, and it took a while to finish it. Remember, this is channel information from a New Ager. This is forbidden. We're not supposed to be doing this. And she says this, the information channeled through her. There is a potential for many people to leave the planet in an afternoon. The people who leave the planet do not fit here. The people who leave the planet during the time of Earth changes do not fit here any longer, and they are stopping the harmony of the Earth. They've explained away the rapture of the church. So maybe the announcement happens. I don't know. And then they show up and then we go up. I don't know. But that's why we're here. We're talking about it. We're arming you. So you don't have a spirit of fear. You have love, power, and a sound mind, knowing that the Lord is in control. The other side of the aisle, the New Agers look at this and they laugh at us. And that's okay. Laugh all you want. The ancient astronaut theorists who believe in the Anunnaki think that, the Anunnaki predates the book of the Torah, right? The 5 books of Moses. And I get that. It does. But that doesn't mean that it's the truth. The Anunnaki, in my opinion, are the fallen angels. Dr. Mike Kaiser went into this at length. But we don't disparage people on this show. We don't throw darts. This is why we had Dr. Heather Lynn just a few weeks ago talking about her book on the Anunnaki. And she, at the very end, she talks about the Watchers are here. And they are, folks. The Watchers are here. They are interacting. Men and women are being abducted. Cattle are being mutilated. And these craft fly with impunity in our airspace. That's it for today. Stay prayed up. Put on the armor of God. You've not been given a spirit of fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind. These are not extraterrestrials. They are interdimensional beings. This is the coming great deception. I am L.A. Marzulli.